Hey! So today we're going to be talking about multiplying decimals by a whole number, okay? This is not too tricky. Don't panic. I think you'll find it quite fun, actually. So open your textbooks to page 45, and we're going to start at the top. Page 45. Jean drinks 4/10 of a liter of milk a day. How many liters of milk does she drink in 3 days? So here it shows us our beakers full of milk with 4/10 in each of them. We want to know how much she drinks in 3 days. So we have 4/10, 4/10, 4/10. We could add these, but really what we should do is do 4/10 multiplied by 3. This shows us what we get, but let's look down here too. Here's what happens, right? So here down at the bottom, it gives us 1, 2, 3, 4/10, 3 times, right? So let's just count them. How many do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12/10 here. That's what would happen if we multiplied 4/10 by 3. We get 12/10. We can't have 12/10, can we? We have to trade one of those for a 1. Well, we have to trade 10 of those for a 1. And so we get 1, 1, and then we have 2/10 left over. So instead of 0.12, which would actually be 12/100ths and not 12/10ths, we have 1 whole and 2/10 left over. We're going to be talking about how we get that. So flip to page 46. This wants us to multiply 2/10 by 4. I'm going to show you how to set this up. When we add or subtract decimals, it is so important that you line up numbers according to their place value. Ones with ones, tenths with tenths, hundredths with hundredths. When we multiply, we don't do that. So this might be a little tricky. When we multiply 2/10 by 4, we put 4 right under the 2. So this would look crazy, right, if we were adding, because this 4 is in the ones place. It would need to be over here under the 0. But since we're multiplying, we put it all the way to the right, because it's like we're multiplying one, like a number in just a ones. What am I trying to say? A number with just a ones place by a 2-digit number. So we'll be multiplying these numbers first, and then these numbers. I still haven't gotten good at. When you record things, everything's like mirror image, so I can't point correctly. Okay. We'll multiply 2 by 4 first, and then, so 2 by 4 is 8, and then we'll multiply across. So 0 times 4 is 0. Here, however many numbers are to the right of your decimal place. So we have a decimal here, however many numbers are to the right. So here I only have 1 number to the right of my decimal place. That's how many numbers I'm going to go here. So I just want 1 number to the right of my decimal place because that's what's happening up here. So however many numbers are behind your decimal place, or how many numbers in your answer you want behind your decimal place. And you'll count, right? So you'll count from the right. So you go to the left one, and that's where you put your decimal place. Okay, so let's try another one. This one, so B is wanting us to multiply 2/100ths by 4. Again, we put our 4 all the way to the right, and now we're going to multiply each of these numbers by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. 0 times 4 is 0. And 0 times 4 is 0 again. Now, my answer is not 8, which is what it looks like here without a decimal. How many numbers are behind or to the right of my decimal place in my problem? 2. So I'm going to count from here 2 over and then put my decimal place so that in my answer, just like in my problem, I have 2 numbers to the right of my decimal place. So you count 1, 2, and then put your decimal place because that's the same as up here. All right. Let's move on to 2a. 7/10 times 3. Again, we put the 3, even though it's in the ones place, all the way to the right. You try to multiply this at home. I'll multiply it here. We can check back. Okay. Here we have some renaming going on. So I have 7 times 3, which would really be 21, right? 21/10. I can't have 21/10. This is also illustrated in your book if you want to look. I can't have 21/10. In fact, let me pull it up. I can't have 21/10. I can't have any more than 9. So I'm going to have to rename some of them. I'm going to take the first 10 and rename them to 1, 1, and then I have another 10 I can take and rename to 1, 1. So now I have 2 1s and only 3 tenths left. That shouldn't be right. I should only have 1/10 left. I do only have 1/10 left. I was looking at the dotted lines wrong. So I've traded in 20 tenths to make 2 1s, and I'm left with just 1/10. That's what happens in our multiplication. I have 1/10 left, and I have 2 new ones I didn't have before. I multiply 0 times 3, which is 0, but I have these 2 1s that I'm going to add. So 0 times 3 is 0, plus 2 is 2. How many numbers are to the right of my decimal place? 1. So I count 1 over. Remember, this number is not behind a decimal place. In fact, if we were to write this number like a decimal, it'd be 3.0 because the 3 is in our ones place. So don't think because this is like, it looks like it could be behind the decimal that it is. It's not. We're just looking at this number with the decimal place in it to see how many numbers are to the right and then to count that many over in our answer. Okay, and then let's see. Let's do 3a on page 47. It wants us to multiply 7/100 by 3. You do it either on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, and then we'll check back and talk about it. This is pretty similar to the one we just did. So here, same thing. 7 times 3 is 21. Now, we can't have 21/100. So we rename 20 of our hundredths to be 2/10 that we didn't have before. Okay. Now I'm multiplying 0 by 3, which is 0, but now I add those 2 new tenths to get a 2 down here. And then I multiply 0 by 3 again, 0. I'm going to count back count how many numbers I have behind my decimal place or to the right of my decimal place. 1, 2. So then when in my answer, I go 1, 2 to make sure that there are 2 numbers behind my decimal place in my answer. Let's skip on down to number 4 and do a couple of these together. You on a whiteboard, a piece of paper, and then check back with me. Let's go ahead and do 4b, which is 3/10 times 2. All right, here we did 3 times 2, which is 6. And we did 0 times 2, which is 0. There is 1 number behind my decimal place, so I count 1 over. There's 1 number behind my decimal place in my answer. My answer is 0.6. Let's do 4f. 4f, which is 4/100 times 7. All right. Here, 4 times 7 is 28. I can't have 28 in my hundredths place. I rename 20 of my hundredths to be 2/10. 0 times 7 is 0, plus those 2/10 is 2. 0 times 7 is 0. I have 2 numbers behind or to the right of my decimal place, so I count 1, 2 numbers to know where I put my decimal place in my answer. And now let's do 6a. They're at the bottom. We have 20 cents, or 20 hundredths, 2/10, times 4. You do it over there, I'll do it here. Label your answer, and here we go. Here I have 0 in my hundredths place. 0 times 4 is 0. 2/10 times 4 is 8/10, and 0 times 4 is 0. So we ended up with an answer of 80 cents. Okay, I hope this makes sense. If you need to do a few more practice problems, feel free to choose some from your textbook, and then feel free to do those and show a parent. And when you're comfortable, go on to work on workbook exercise 28.